If you want to come to China and just you think you're going to just be able to make content and make money, you're not. I'm so sorry to tell you, you're not. A lot of people are not going to be happy to hear that.
Hello, it's been a while. Today we're at Charlietown and meet my friend Gavin.
Hi, I'm Gavin.
So today we're doing a bit of a different video. Don't move to China until you watch this, because so many people have this idea of creating content in China. I want to come live in China, and Gavin really is the person to talk to. So today we're going to do pretty informal, just like bit of a chit chat. So I guess let's start. How did we meet? Where did we meet?
So we met because we're both creators, of course.
Okay.
We met at a Chinese robotics
Launch?
Yeah, I guess you could say launch. Yeah. We met there and we clicked and connected, and here we are.
Here we are. We went walking in Rutan Park, Rutan Gongyuan. Should I?
Yeah.
Okay. Rutan Gongyuan. Just so everyone knows, Gavin's Chinese compared to mine, amazing.
Hers is great.
So, no.
Way.
Gavin's is actually amazing. All right, and tell us, Gavin, what do you do in China? How long you've been here?
So I've been in China for about 4 years now. Before I was a student here, I went to Peking University, and then I started doing content creation in my second year of undergrad. And originally I started doing Chinese food content, and I got to about 1.6 million followers on Chinese social media. And then started a second account where now I just do mostly daily life kind of stuff. On the daily vlog account is where we met.
Yeah.
And then the daily vlog one is kind of my main thing now. And so that's mainly what I do, is just Chinese social media. I also do some Chinese brands reaching into the American market, some 品牌出海, and then starting to do some sourcing, like Tia, the master right here.
No, not at all. And I think when we talk about someone who knows it all, bringing this idea of I want to come to China, create content or do sourcing even, Gavin really is the person to speak to in terms of creating a business in Beijing. And so, we're going to give you a heap of value in this video. Okay, so yes, we've got a little bit of notes. We do come prepared, obviously. So we're seeing this phenomenon, right, of so many people wanting to come to China to create content. Talk us through when you're at Peking, when you started, what was the supply like in the market? We're starting to talk market forces now.
Yeah, supply of creators back then was honestly not what it is now.
Okay.
Back then there really weren't any real creators out there. It was kind of just me and then a few others. And then now, of course, everyone's really wanting to get into social media, whether it be Western social media or Chinese social media. And Chinese social media is starting to become very washed out a little bit because everyone's doing the same thing. And so people are struggling. They're not able to make as big of a fan base. And so it's kind of a struggle for a lot of people nowadays. But back when I first started, it wasn't quite as difficult, but it was still definitely a science to it.
Yeah. So people want to come create content here. What platforms are even there before we talk about what platforms you would recommend?
So the main platforms here, of course, are Douyin, 小红书, there's Bilibili, there's Kuaishou. Those are the main four.
Can we touch on Bilibili and Kuaishou? Because to be honest, I know Bilibili is the YouTube of China.
Kuaishou is the old version of Douyin.
Okay.
So it's kind of like the original Douyin, and now it's basically just used by old people.
Okay.
But it's still useful.
And what about WeChat Channels? Have you delved into WeChat Channels at all?
Yeah, I forgot about that one. WeChat Channels is definitely a big one.
Yeah.
That one's mainly for live streaming and selling products.
Okay.
Not as much for just pure videos, but it's definitely, I still post there. Yeah.
Nice. We're going down a rabbit hole now. Now tell me, live streaming. Are you a live streamer?
I just started 2 days ago.
Oh my gosh, I haven't seen you on what platform?
On 小红书 and Douyin.
Stop.
I know.
Okay.
I'm trying.
Gavin, the live streamer. Everybody go hit up Gavin on 小红书 and Douyin.
Yeah, hit me up.
Okay, cool. So we've spoken about the platforms at large then. So for a new creator coming in, all right, do you think it's really necessary to have a niche? And second follow-up question, what platform are we going to these days, 2026?
I would say if your goal is to make money, just to monetize, 小红书 is definitely the best platform for sure. Douyin is still good, but it's just kind of
Yeah.
小红书is where it's at.
Yeah.
And I would say if you're starting a new account, it's definitely important to have your own niche.
Yeah.
But more than niche, I feel like it's more important to first have something that makes you stick out as a person, whether it be your fashion sense, to something more
Like a differentiator. Right.
your appearance-wise.
Okay.
It's important to have something that makes you stick out appearance-wise.
Yeah.
If it's not appearance-wise, then you need to be funny. If you're not funny, then you need to be pretty or hot or something like that. A lot of people are not going to be happy to hear that, but you have to have something like that, some kind of quality that really makes you stick out. And it's the same for Western social media too, I feel like, but it's not as serious, but Chinese social media really is that serious. Like, you have to.
And I think just to touch on that, so what you'll find, and correct me if I'm wrong,
Yeah.
you've been here longer than I have, but for Chinese people looking at a Western face, like you and I say look very different to each other,
Yeah.
but then to a Chinese person, we
not the
don't
same.
look that different.
Yeah.
And so this is like when you talk about this, like, what's your brand online? That's key. And so tell us, what's yours?
So mine is, I didn't do it today, but I'm unfortunately not super funny in all my videos.
He's so funny.
Not in videos, unfortunately, but so I do, I guess my appearance-wise thing is I have a certain hairstyle where I do like, my hair's curly. So I have this one curl that it always happens in the front. It's like a 6. It's a curly Q. And so I just hairspray it, and then I slick the rest of my hair back, and it looks kind of crazy and weird, but it makes me very, very memorable. Whether it's clients, whether it's followers, fans, just anyone watching, people will see my hairstyle and they'll click in the video because they're like, what is that? They'll comment because they're like, oh my God, this is such a stupid hairstyle. Or they'll be like, this is a hilarious hairstyle. Or sometimes it reminds them of a cartoon they saw when they were a kid. Like, there's so many different ways that it brings in entertainment, I guess, for people. And that's kind of my thing, I guess you could say. And it's a stupid thing to have, but it works. And so it's really important to have something like that if it's not, your character, yourself being hilarious.
Yeah, and that's what they say, right? Is like a successful video in the first 5 to 10 seconds, you're going to exceed people's expectations, meet them, or change them. So you can do that appearance, you can do that with your scripting, what you're saying, editing. Gavin's a good editor. Okay, well, we've spoken about the niching and then the platforms. Now let's talk about, like, we're factual people, right? Let's take Mark. This is my friend. Mark wants to come to China. How does he live in China and create content without a following?
Honestly, it's rough. If you want to come to China and you think you're going to just be able to make content and make money, you're not.
No.
I'm so sorry to tell you, you're not.
No. Don't be sorry. It's just fact.
Yeah, it's fact. It's hard to hear, but it's fact.
Yeah.
It's not as easy as you think to get a visa in any situation. The easiest way I would say is to come, be a student. You can come and learn Chinese. I would say that's the best way.
Yeah.
Come, learn Chinese. 1, it helps your language. And 2, you have more freedom. You have more time to be able to make content and to have those experiences, to film.
Yeah.
The other one, of course, is to work, but this is still more iffy because you can get caught. It's a lot of legal issues. And even on a student visa, you're not supposed to work, but at least you'll have the time to film. If you really want to accept advertisements and monetize yourself, you kind of have to start your own business in China. That's really the only way.
Yeah.
Start your own business, give yourself your own visa, do transactions from the brand's bank account to your bank account to your company bank account, not personal, and then you just kind of work for yourself, and that's really the only way you can monetize it in China right now.
Yeah, definitely. And so I think that's a common misconception. People think, oh, I'm going to come study here, I'm going to come work for someone else, and I'm going to monetize my social media. Like, if you don't have the following, it's going to take
a long
6
time.
months, a
6
year,
months to a year,
consistent posting. And like, if you've got a full-time job, okay, you're doing that outside of hours, filming, scripting, editing, like you might need to put some dollars into it to actually build the following. So that's a definite consideration, right?
100%.
We both have help.
Yeah, we both have help. It helps.
Yeah, it's just fact. Okay, so next we've talked about starting the business. We're going to start the business. There's different options for that. You've got Lingang, which is where I've started my business. You've got a business out
in
Beijing.
Yep.
Yeah. Can you just give us a rough idea on like startup costs business-wise?
So a lot of people actually tend to get scammed, I feel like, starting businesses in China.
Yeah.
They'll go to people and they'll charge them like 40,000 RMB,
Yeah.
which is an insane number. But in reality, starting a business here, at least in Beijing, it's different in every city. But for Beijing, it's around like 2,500 RMB, which is like what, 300 USD? Like,
Yeah,
it's very
probably
cheap.
something, I think it's cheaper than starting it in your own country. And I think one really interesting consideration for starting a business in China is the living costs, probably not in Beijing, but the living costs, the costs at least to feed yourself, I just did a video on this, are a lot cheaper than, say, living in the US.
So much cheaper.
Yeah, so I guess in that terms, the barriers to entry are lower. But when you talk about creating a following, like there's 1.4 billion people here. So
You have a big market. There's a lot of audience out there, but
also a lot of creators. So
Exactly.
it's worth considering, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so next we talked about building. So how do I actually build a following then? And what platform would you suggest in 2026?
for most people, again, your goal is to monetize, to make some money, to become an influencer or whatever. I would say Xiaohongshu is definitely the way to go.
Yeah.
Xiaohongshu is really the platform where a lot of younger people are. The more, interactive people, the ones that you want to reach,
Yeah.
is all in Xiaohongshu.
Yeah.
And for that, I would say the way to really gain a following, like I said originally, is first of all to have your appearance down,
Yeah.
to have something that makes you stick out. Second of all is a niche, like you were saying. Niche is pretty important, but a lot of foreigners in China, they kind of just go with oh, I'm a foreigner in China, oh, I'm a white face in China, like, give me followers, give me money. Like, it used to work-
很无聊, boring.
Yeah, 很无聊.
Yeah.
It used to work like 3 years ago, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Now there's too many people here, like, no one cares.
Yeah.
People are used to foreigners here. So now you really like, you have to have something that makes you stick out. You have to be funny, you have to be creative, interesting, smart, something, and really find that niche and find your way to really attract these Chinese followers, because they're very different than Western followers
Yeah,
too.
agreed. And I think that's something we just were at lunch and we were just like deep diving into what's been going on. And for us, like we're both spread across both Chinese and Western social media.
Yeah.
And that looks like basically two different business streams, right?
Completely, yeah.
Because it's a different audience and it's a different monetization kind of structure too, right? Yeah.
Completely.
Different brands. So that's worth considering. Okay, so we've talked about the content niches. Do you think there's anything like emerging that you see like a gap in the market?
Emerging, I would definitely say,
Hard question, right?
this goes for Chinese social media and Western social media actually.
Okay.
I would say tech. The tech
okay.
niche, tech, industry
Yeah.
is, if you're really wanting money and like some followers, that's the place to be.
Yeah.
Like as a foreigner in China, whiteface, like just being whiteface here, it's not going to do much for you.
Yeah.
But if you're in the tech field, it's not about you being white, it's about you just standing out. And that's some niche that there's really not many people in. There's nobody really doing it.
Yeah.
And so like we met doing a technology niche thing. There's not
Yeah.
many of us that are able to do that kind of thing.
No.
And so, filming the newest technologies, a lot of them that you can't film or get access to film outside of China, you could only do it while you're here.
Yeah.
So you have a really big advantage being here filming content, and that will give you a lot of followers and a big audience. It will also get you a lot of new clients.
Yeah.
Because they only have a small pool of creators to choose from, and you're going to be a big choice in that pool.
And I think to double down on that in terms of the finance and also probably the tech vertical, like I was going to say finance only, but now the tech vertical in terms of average monetization dollars, like there's just more dollars to spend. So
have
could
more
be a
money.
strategic one. Then probably just like my last question for you, do you have to be able to speak Chinese to live here?
To live
Yeah.
here?
Yeah, that's my first
To
question.
live here? No. To enjoy living here? Yes.
Okay, I'm very strong on this. There's other people that say if you can't speak Chinese, it's okay. And we've got friends that can't speak Chinese, but like,
It's okay, but like you're not going to have the best life.
no, okay.
Yeah, you're not going to get the most out of it.
Yeah. And then what about Chinese social media? So we know that TikTok and Instagram, potentially you don't need to be able to speak Chinese, but you might need to speak Chinese to understand more.
Yeah.
Okay, what about Chinese social media?
It's really different, I feel like, for everybody. Some people, it works to speak English.
Yeah.
But I would say for most people, yeah, for her it works. But I think it works for you because you speak a mix of English and Chinese. And so it's like people like to see the back and forth. And sometimes when you mess up, it's hilarious. Like it's a good balance.
Me in that past video, I'm like, 土豆, thinking
Potato.
literally.
So funny. But that's why it works for you.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it doesn't work for everyone. Like, for example, for me, when I speak English in my videos, they don't pop off like they do when I speak Chinese.
Yeah.
And I would say for most people, when you speak Chinese, and it's a Chinese platform,
Yeah.
the audience is going to prefer you to speak the language that they understand.
Yeah.
Unless your goal is to teach English, then that's very different because you have a different audience.
Mm-hmm.
But for, the broader kind of creators, I would say being able to speak Chinese is a big advantage, not just follower-wise, but also brand-wise when you're trying to monetize, like
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah, literally. Okay, so I see that the battery on our camera is going to die, but actually our bubble tea is ready. We're obviously at Charlietown.
yeah.
This is not sponsored, by the way. But hopefully that gives you a bit of insight into, okay, bringing that idea to action. You want to come to China and create content. Gavin is the man, and we've both now transitioned into more of a sourcing, I guess, diversification of our own businesses.
Yeah.
Gavin's focusing on the US market. So yeah, I guess if you've got any questions, drop them in the comments, but hopefully that was helpful. We'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.